presentation. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to the Virtual Technology Conference. First thing I'm going to start off with is just to get right into it. Hopefully everybody can hear me and see the screen. We're going to start in with Windows 10, and let's just start in here, if I can. There we go. Now, generally, Windows is Microsoft Windows 10 is a good operating system, better than Windows 8, Windows 8.1. We know that, and unfortunately, with Windows 10, Microsoft has taken privacy to a whole new level, down to a whole new level. This new level brings about more invasion of privacy than its attempt to protect your private information, all in the name of convenience. Well, you want to check out Microsoft's statement of privacy. The link is on the screen. I'm sure when we get this PowerPoint online, you'll be able to click on that. The internet, and now what we call the Internet of Things, have reduced our privacy, all in the name of convenience, improved lifestyle, maybe more security. So it's time to manage Windows 10 and take back some control of your computer. Now, the first thing you want to do is start by determining the version of Windows 10 you're using. Even in the 1 year since its initial public release, Windows 10 has gone through 3 versions. Version 15.07, the initial public release, version 15.11 last November, and then lately the version 16.07, what we call the anniversary edition of Windows, because it corresponds to the first anniversary of its initial release. So happy anniversary, everyone. Now, I will tell you that not everyone may have installed or updated to this latest anniversary edition, but it's coming fast to everybody in due time. So you need to be aware of some of the things that are going on. Now, a major new release, like Anniversary Edition, is probably what I would like to call, like we used to see the old service packs of Windows XP, Windows Vista, Windows 7, Windows 8, 8.1. You can consider this version 16.07 like a service pack. You need to allow yourself ample time to get the upgrade. My own computer took about 2.5 hours. I'm wired. I'm on a cable system with Time Warner, and my computer's really up to date, and it took about 2.5 hours. So allow yourself ample time to get this update going when it's announced to you. The installation does mimic a new install, and unfortunately, it will reset some of the personal preferences and things you've turned off, which I'm going to talk about in that version 15.11. So to determine your version of Windows 10, you want to click on the Start menu. It's the 4 white window panes in the lower left corner, and I'll show you this in a screenshot in a second. Click on Settings, System, and About, and you'll see the version number. Don't confuse the Windows 10 edition with the version. There are 7 real editions, there may be more, of Windows 10. There's Home, Pro, Ultimate, Mobile, Education, things like that. I will tell you that some of the features I'm going to talk about this morning are applying to the version 16.07, the Anniversary Edition. Some will apply to version 15.11. I've already upgraded to version 16.07, so I can't really show you some of the live features that were in the old version of 15.11. I do have some screenshots to deal with that. Generally, there's a number of things you need to do when starting Windows 10, either from an upgrade from 7 or 8, or even on a new Windows 10, brand new out-of-the-box Windows 10 installation. And we're going to go into those individually as we get on. So let me switch over to the actual settings here. We're going to click on the Start menu, and we go to Settings here, and that's the little gear. And you go to System. This is to tell you how or what version you're on. You go all the way to the bottom and click About, and in the middle of your screen, you're going to see the edition of Windows 10, as well as the version number. Your version number may be 15.11. The current version, the latest version, which came out a couple of weeks ago, is 16.07, but a lot of people are still going to be on 15.11. So that's something to be aware of. So, but generally, you want to watch what you're doing when you do an installation, because Microsoft will trick you into non-privacy things. The express settings you want to avoid. You want to take back the privacy by managing the privacy settings. Manage computer performance by turning off the default apps that Microsoft starts automatically. You want to show the hidden features that Microsoft likes to hide. It's a game I call hide and geek, and something I want to avoid. So we're going to get into that a little later. And you want to take control of some of the hidden stuff that is hidden by default, because that can slow down your computer. So you want to deal with that. So the first thing to look at on these privacy settings is to click on the white window pane, the start menu. That's the settings down here. Once in settings, go to privacy. We're going to talk about the network and internet Wi-Fi sense if you have Wi-Fi enabled. The update and security options that Microsoft has, Windows updates, things like that. The other thing you want to be aware of is the notification area, and we're going to have a whole section on that coming up. You want to show all the notifications to see what's really controlling or mismanaging your system, and you want to manage your virus and spyware protection to make sure it's running properly. You want to control how the taskbar looks, the hide Cortana, that's an optional setting. And you want to deal with hiding or not combining, not hiding, but not combining the taskbar buttons that are down there. So let's start in with privacy, and I'm going to get right into it. Let's switch over to the settings, and here's your basic settings screen. You want to go to privacy, and every one of these options needs to be managed and, in my opinion, turned off. These are turned on by default with Windows 10. Turn most of them off. I'm not going to go into every one, but we're going to see that every one of them may have a problem. Under the general settings, let apps use my advertising ID for experiences. Yeah, we'll turn that one on. I don't think so. Let websites provide locally relevant content. Slide the button on or off. Again, turn it off. Most of these things are issues of privacy. We're going to turn these off. Go down to each application or each sub content, not sure what the terminology is, and I turned off my location service. You don't need to know where I am. I'm in Los Angeles. I'll tell you guys, but my computer doesn't need to know that. So there are some things there down at the bottom, and most of these submenus have these. If it's turned off, excuse me, if it's turned on, then you have the option to turn off or on these individual apps. And I'm going to turn mine back off. That's what I prefer. But again, the default is that these are on, and this is just for the location concept. Camera, same thing. Now, I leave my camera on because I'm using Skype on occasion. This could be an audio performance. It's not today, so you would need that to be enabled. I'll leave Skype on, but most of these other ones, I don't need the camera to deal with that. I don't use the Microsoft Store. I don't use Twitter regularly. I'm certainly not using Microsoft Edge, Maps, App Connector, things like that. Same thing with the microphone when you're dealing with these types of applications. I've got the microphone on, but only for Skype. I don't use Sway. I don't even have an Xbox, and this would have been turned on by default. So you want to turn that off. Notifications, there's a lot of notifications, and they're off right now because I've turned them off. But again, every one of these needs to be managed, and I know when you click on it, let apps access my contacts. I don't think so. Skype contacts, Twitter, I don't own an Xbox. If I turn these on, I can actually turn some of these on or off if I need to. And again, I'm going to turn it off by default. If you run into a problem, then you can turn it back on if something stops you from doing something on your computer. But generally, off, off, off. Email, my call history. Well, I don't use the computer to make phone calls. This is Microsoft's concept of using your Windows phone to do that, everything under one platform. And these are going to be off. Messaging, other devices like a Windows phone or other things, they can synchronize to your Windows 10. And again, I'm turning most of that off. I haven't even played with that option. Feedback. Well, Microsoft likes feedback. They want to have you have a better computing experience. and they can only do that if you feedback to them. Well, you can feedback to them automatically, always, daily, never. Once a week, that's good enough for you guys up in Redmond. I can deal with that. When we run into problems, we again have sharing device data. You can go to basic, enhanced, or full. I'd like to turn it off, but I'll skip to the basic level. That's the easiest way I can deal with that. Again, every one of these sub features needs to be controlled. Let's go back to the main settings. So those are your privacy options, and that's the biggest thing that people don't realize is there. And the other issue is background apps. Now, Microsoft by default will leave quite a number of apps running in the background right out of the box on Windows. Most of them should be disabled unless you use a specific one. And even Microsoft might indicate that turning these off can conserve power, especially when running on a battery on a notebook computer, things like that. So you want to go to Settings, Privacy, and Background Apps, and it's the last one, and we're going to turn all of those off. So let's go back to Settings, Privacy, all the way to the bottom, Background Apps, and again, I've got all of these off, and this is quite a list here, the things that were turned on by default on my computer, and I said, you got to be kidding me. Xbox was turned on. I don't own one. The weather, it's hot outside. I don't need to have the weather app telling me what the weather is. I don't use Store. If I want to know what the Olympics are doing, I could turn on the sports. I can also turn on channel NBC and watch the Olympics. So I don't need to worry about sports, things like that. The news, Netflix. I'm going to watch these on my TV. I know a lot of people watch them on their computer, but I'm going to turn these off by default. My Wi-Fi is enabled so that if I do go out to a location that has Wi-Fi, then that feature is enabled, and I can deal with the Wi-Fi settings properly. But some of those things, every one of these, and again, this is a big list. It's a big list of things that were turned on. Every one of them were turned on by default, and I thought, I don't even have an Xbox. What are you doing? So turn them off. So network and internet settings, and one of the beefs I have is about Wi-Fi, and there was something in Wi-Fi called Wi-Fi Sense that Microsoft enabled in Windows 10, and that is you can sign into your Microsoft account to use Wi-Fi Sense if you have a Microsoft account. And the wording right here, Wi-Fi Sense connects you to suggested hotspots and the Wi-Fi networks that your contacts share with you. By using Wi-Fi Sense, you agree it can use your location. Oh, we definitely want to enable that. Not on a chance. Remember, even Microsoft says not all Wi-Fi networks are secure. Well, you're telling me that, but you're allowing me to share my Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi with my contacts. I don't think so. So you want to disable that. Not everybody has Wi-Fi. It's available on laptops and your tablets, but on a desktop computer, you may or may not have the Wi-Fi enabled, or you might not have a Wi-Fi adapter. So let's go into network. And again, this might look a little different on your Windows version than mine. You can show available networks, that's fine. Manage known networks, I want to deal with that. The random hardware address, I definitely think that's a good idea. But here you've got this Wi-Fi Sense, and you want to manage this as best you can. Connect to open hotspots? No, I don't want to connect to open hotspots. I want to manage what's going on there. So the Wi-Fi Sense is something that we want to manage and maybe disable if we can. Okay. Under Windows, Microsoft Windows updates and security, well, they've changed under Windows 10. In the old days, I would say Windows updates have always been a hot topic. Sometimes they work, sometimes they work slowly. There's too many updates. We have Patch Tuesday, things like that. It's always been a little bit of a problem. They got always, every week, they got more updates. Prior to Windows 10, you could control the day of the week and maybe even the time when updates would be installed. Well, I'm sorry, under Windows 10, Microsoft says, no, you don't have that control. And in fact, under the default setting of Windows 10, the older version, you could run the update, Microsoft could run the update and restart the computer with no warning. Hopefully that's not going to happen in the middle of today's presentation. And even if you had other stuff open, and this happened to me a while back, all of a sudden the computer restarted while I was using it. I wondered, what were you thinking, Microsoft? Well, fortunately, under Windows, the 15.11 version and before, you had an option to go to the settings and notify. This is set to automatic. You could change this to schedule restart, and then it would tell you, notify to say, hey, we have an update that we need to run, and we need to restart your computer, and at least you've got a little bit of capability to deal with that. I can't show you this on my computer because that option's been disabled because I'm on the Anniversary Edition. And we have some new stuff under the Anniversary Edition. Microsoft learned a little bit. And under Windows Update, we now have something called Active Hours. Active Hours lets us know, lets Microsoft know when you're using the computer. And when a restart is necessary, we won't automatically restart the device while I'm using the computer. That's nice of you. So I've set my active hours between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. I will tell you that's unreasonable. I really get up early in the morning. I'm a night owl. I stay up late. I want my settings to go a little longer in the evening, 10 o'clock, and hit the check mark. Oh my goodness. Active hours can only be set between a 1 and 12-hour period. So those of us that are crazy people that use the computer 24/7, you can't even choose those options. You'd have to go to a 12-hour window and you could save it. And you notice if I choose one more hour, I can't even hit the save button to change it. And I hope that this is changed in the future, because there's a lot of people that do use the computer a lot more often than that, and they want to control that. So we'll check on that. We'll get me back to a 12-hour window. I've already got that setting dealing with that. There's a restart option, which I have yet to figure out, to be honest, because I can't even turn it on. I'm not sure what's going on with that. I'll have to do some more research on that. This is another feature that's available under Windows Update. So those are the things to watch out for. Under Windows 10, the updates, Windows updates, things like that. Basically, the changes between the 15.11 version last November and the 16.07 anniversary update, the Wi-Fi sense have changed the options. The Windows updates have now gone to these active hours option versus the automatic or notify me. Even the start menu has changed slightly, and the look and feel is a little different. There's no more text description of the options. It's replaced by intuitive icons. And then we have an issue with user access control. So let's look at that start menu. Let's get out of the settings here and go to the start menu. And here are my options, and hopefully you can see this. You have settings. You have your power options. These are intuitive. I say that with hesitation. This is the network connection. This is personal folders, my personal folders, the file explorer. But in the older version, you'd actually see the word setting. And if you click on the 3 bars up here, the hamburger, yes, this is a hamburger. I didn't make it up. You actually see the words for settings and power and things like that. So that's a little different. And if you click on it again, you see your programs, but you see only the icons down here and not the full wording. That's a change under the Windows Anniversary Edition. They kind of changed that, good or bad. User access control have been reset to the default settings of Windows. And the user access control is something that's been around for a number of versions of Windows, and it's an attempt, a security attempt, to warn users about possible changes to software being installed. But there's really not a good way to control it. I don't have anything in here that says user access control. I would see under my accounts, I see nothing here. There I am with my baton. I don't see anything here with user access control? Well, if you type in UAC, lo and behold, you can find it, and you can modify the settings by dragging the pointer up or down to the level of notification that you want. And I keep it at a reasonable level. I don't use the not recommended because you just never know what's going to happen. So I kind of move down there and go to a minimal level. The actual way to get to that, if I click on the old style control panel, and what I've done is right clicked on my start menu, and here's your original control panel, and you go to user accounts. This is the old style Windows 7, Windows 10, Windows 8 version, and go to Windows account control, user access control, I should say, and you should see the same options there. But they don't make it available to you very easily under the basic Windows settings. Again, what were you missing in an attempt to protect us? And it, depending on your settings, when you're installing new software, that may pop up and say, hey, something may be wanting to change the computer. What's happening there? Do you really want it to happen? So those are the changes, some of the changes, I'm sure there are more, between version of 15.11 and version 16.07. Now, there's a couple other issues with background applications. I'm not going to pick on Windows too much. I could, but Chrome, Google Chrome, its default setting is to keep Chrome running in the background, even when it's closed. Well, I'm always a big fan of when you're done with something, close it. Put your toys away. When you're done with your toys, put them away. And the only things that should be running in the background are things for security and protection, such as your virus protection, your spyware protection, things like that. Power protection if you're using a notebook, power and modules if you're using a battery backup, backup schedulers, and other applications that are there. But Chrome, by default, wants to keep it running in the background. And that's something that I want to take away. So again, I'm going to go down to Chrome, which is running. And here's the APCUG website here. And up here, we have the hamburger settings. And I'm going to scroll all the way down, let it load, to advanced settings, and scroll farther down again to system. And this should be turned off. Uncheck it, which is how I leave it. Continue running background when Google is closed. I don't want that to happen. When I close Chrome, I'm done with Chrome. I don't want to leave it running. So those are things just to watch out for that are running in the background. The notification area. Now, this is something that is really something that Microsoft hides, changes the routine on every so often, changes the name. Again, I call it Microsoft's hide and geek. The game doesn't have any rules. Microsoft cheats, and the game can expose your system to increased security risk. Their attitude has been to hide important warnings, hiding running apps, and hiding a lot of collections of files and folders. Once again, people, it's time to take back control of your computer and get to know what's really happening. So you want to go down to that system tray, manage the task manager, and you want to manage your file explorer options. Now again, the wording system notification tray, which is usually down in the lower right corner, we've changed the terminology over time, but we'll call it the system tray and then older style. The standard icons in the system tray or notification area have been the date and the time, your volume control, your network connections, your antivirus, and your spyware protection, and the two are not the same. Backup services, printer management. If you're using Skype, Dropbox, or other cloud-based backup services, you want to see those down there to see what's happening. And again, battery management, things like that. And there's some other utilities that are down there. Microsoft's attitude is to hide them unless some action needs to be taken. And that action might be you got a paper jam on your printer, your battery power is low, you're low on ink, perhaps Windows updates need to be updated, you're missing some stuff, or perhaps you have no antivirus protection. Now, the alternative is to show some icons, then group all the other ones in a hidden, kind of a hidden area as a different group, and you don't see what's happening. Now, my personal experience, and I'm going to show you the differences in a minute, my personal experience has shown that most computer users are even unaware of the features and importance of this area, and there may be covert apps installed consuming computer resources, slowing down your system. And by showing all the applications, and again, all the apps that I can show that are running, you as a computer user can take back more control. Me as a computer tech can identify what's happening and start to manage the computer in a different way. Any application that has an icon that is unknown, you don't know what it is a potential threat to the performance and integrity of the computer. You need to manage it, stop them from running, or uninstall them. Now, I've caught a lot of infections and performance hogging apps simply by showing what's in the notification area. So we're going to go down to it right now. Let's get back over to settings. Settings, here we go. And we go to personalization, and the taskbar, the very bottom one. And we're going to scroll a little farther down and select which icons appear on the taskbar. Now, you see my preference is to show all the icons. It's enabled. You see my system tray. Hopefully you can see my system tray on the screen. And you see everything that's running there. And I can identify every one of these that are down there. My antivirus, my iDrive backup, my Brother printer. Here's Microsoft OneDrive. Here's the Zoom that we're doing the presentation on. And here's Skype. So here's my remote access, and here's my Spire. So I know what's down there. If I turn this off, all of a sudden, I've got less showing to me here on the bottom. And I've got this grouping here to show hidden icons. And here I have Microsoft OneDrive. I have Skype. I have the Zoom. And I've got the Brother. What are these? Why is Microsoft OneDrive running? I don't even use it. Why is Skype running? I'm not using it right now. You can control individual ones, but I turn them all on. I want to see everything because I want to know if I hold my mouse over any one of these that I know what it is. The wording comes through and tells me what it is, and I hope you can see that on your screen. So that would be under settings, taskbar, notification area, and we deal with that. The other option is to combine or not combine the taskbar buttons of your settings, and there's a reason I don't combine them. Let's go back to settings, and the taskbar location is traditionally at the bottom. You can move it, but the traditional location is on the bottom. Taskbar buttons, I never combine. If I hide labels, all of a sudden, everything I'm running has been shrunk down, and I don't even know what's running here. And in reality, I've got two PowerPoints running, the actual show, as well as a preview that's happening, and I can click to either one. But I want to know that they're both there, so I never combine. And hopefully you can see that I have the PowerPoint, the preview. I've got Microsoft running over there for the Zoom. I've got Chrome running in the background. I've got Skype, things like that. I have a law office that opens 6 or 7, maybe 10 or 12 different Word documents when she starts off. The secretary starts off during the day. And she will have 6 or 7 or 10 or 12 different Word documents down here on the bottom. And she'll be running at all times. And she, and I say, how many are you running? How many do you really need to stay running? She said, I need them all open. I said, well, if you got a problem, you're going to need to close each one individually and save it, and it's a little dangerous. But I want to see how many are running down there because I want to know how many apps and how many versions of a different Word document or a different presentation I may be running. So that's where I go to never combine, not hiding the labels. I want to see what's happening on my computer. Let's go back to the presentation. Now, Windows Defender, this ties into the whole notification area, and I want to emphasize this and how this whole notification area starts to control or not control what's happening on your computer. Windows Defender is Microsoft's Windows 10 antivirus version. It comes with Windows 10. It is their latest antivirus protection. And it's the best, according to Microsoft. I'm not sure it is. It is preloaded by default, unless your computer has other and maybe better antivirus protection. And we've all heard presentations on other protection that's available at other conferences. Now, my feeling is the antivirus and your spyware protection have usually shown up as system items in the system tray down below, and they're there to provide you with quick access to know that the protection is running. And from a user standpoint, I'd like to know my protection status is there. Well, under Windows Defender, under Windows 10, it's hidden from view. You have no idea that it's working or it's not, unless you start it manually. Now, if it's disabled, I will say it's disabled if you have alternate protection. Now, there's another hidden feed. Now, this, by not showing it, not even telling you, hey, I'm running or I'm not, if the program becomes unstable, doesn't work, non-functional, then you may not have virus protection and you may not even know it. And of course, we know that everything in Microsoft Windows works perfectly, always has, so nothing would ever become non-functional, and you deal with it. So I want to know that my virus protection is down there. And Microsoft, by default, hides it completely. Let me show you where it is. And they've kind of relegated it down to a lower level. Go all the way to the bottom to Windows System. And again, down, down, down. And here's Windows Defender. And it should start up. And here's now a new shield that says Windows Defender. And it's saying that it's off because I actually have ESET antivirus. And that's running in the background. So I've already got different protection. And so Windows Defender is off because it's telling me that. If it was not there, you could actually open it and you could scan and look at the settings of Windows Defender and manage it. Now I'm going to close the general app and go back to my presentation. It's a system app, kind of a lower level, not very important. And in Microsoft, you can get to it down there. I think it's a little more important if you're using it. The actual program is down here, Windows Defender. MSASCUI, I'm not sure why that name has come up, but that's where it is. And those are the things you want to deal with. Now you'll notice on my computer, here's my shield here telling me Windows Defender is off. Unfortunately, as I can right-click on most every other icon down here, I can turn off my super anti-spyware. I can turn off my AnyDesk remote access. I can actually turn off Skype. I can actually turn off Windows OneDrive, Microsoft OneDrive. But under right-clicking again, under Windows Defender, I have no control here to turn it off. I can only open it. Well, I'm not sure what was going on here and why they were, why the methodology to deal with it that way. But I have no way to close it. I can open it, and it should come up any second now. So I'm kind of a little on the unlike you model of what they're doing with Windows Defender. Now, the whole concept of the system notification tray, and I get some real life examples that I've seen and uncovered and managed, and things that you may see, and that is. The McAfee security, if you have McAfee, that's fine. If you have Norton or you have ESET or you have AVG or something else, McAfee may come in as a covert application, and it'll be down there in that system tray. You may not even be aware that it's there, and it's just another marketing scheme. It may or may not be active. The AOL desktop, those of us that used to use AOL desktop, that desktop app may still be there even if we're no longer using it and you haven't uninstalled it. And so it's managing or controlling a little bit of the AOL environment. If you're not using it, I'd get rid of it. If you need your AOL.com email, You can still go to AOL.com from a browser, or you can use your Outlook or other email application like Thunderbird or even EM Client to get to your AOL mail, something like that, or go directly there. You don't need the AOL desktop control to slow your computer down, but people don't realize it's still running. Your printers have the same issue. We have old printers. Old printers never die, and the software continues to run in the background. Now I've got 6 or 7 HPs that I've installed, a couple Epsons, and a Canon, and a Brother, and I never seem to uninstall the old one, so all my HPs are still down there. They're not on my computer, but a lot of us may have old printers still with little icons down in the bottom lower right corner, managing and saying, hey, this printer is not even connected, but it's trying to connect. So if you've got an old printer you've retired, uninstall it completely. Get rid of that printer. You may have gone to a newer model, a replacement model. I mean, printers don't last forever. Skype runs its startup if you have Skype accounts and is waiting for other Skype users to connect. Well, even if you're not using it, it's going to be there unless you tell it to not be there when I don't want to start Skype automatically. And you can see I have Skype running down here. I've disabled it. I'm going to quit Skype. And that icon should disappear, and then it's gone now. So those are just an example of things we have. Dropbox is another one. It's a good cloud-based backup service. Many computer users might use it once and forget that it's there, but it's down there. And again, Windows OneDrive, this is Microsoft's answer to cloud backup. And it's always in the background, comes with Windows 10, even if you don't have a Microsoft account and you're not even using it. And when you upgrade to version 1607, it's going to come back. And here it is here. And I never use it. I use iDrive, and people have heard me talk about that. So I can actually exit it. But the more important thing is to look at the settings. And this is what's checked on by default. Start OneDrive when I sign into Windows. I'm sorry, no, I don't want to do this. I'm not going to use it. So we want to uncheck that once it's started. And I'm going to exit Windows OneDrive. Thank you very much. Yes, I'm sure I want to close it. Yes, I'm sure I want to close it. It's gone. So now I have a little more power back in my computer. The notification tray, more examples. We have some computer hardware and manufacturer specific. I'm running on an Acer computer, and I do have an Acer app to tell me a little bit more about my Acer down below, and that's running to tell me. And so not every computer has those, but more the notebooks and brand name computers might, so you want to keep an eye on those things. Weather apps, well, it's hot outside. I know that. I don't need the weather app to tell me what the weather is unless I live in a cave. And if I'm living in a cave, I don't care what the weather is. You can go to weather.com and figure those things out. Your chat, your messenger apps that we may still be using, maybe down in that lower right corner. You want to disable those if you're not using them, and they start automatically. So like everything else in technology, Windows 10's constantly changing, constantly improving. I'm not sure about that. For many users, change doesn't always mean improvement. And the privacy settings, or lack thereof, by Microsoft, are just an example where you as an individual computer user have a choice to enable or disable certain features. The background apps, Windows Update settings, you manage those, control those. It's another area that the computer user should be managed. The more performance you can get out of the computer, the better it is. Once you're aware of those settings, how to control them, how to exit them, you can enable them, you can disable them. This will improve and change your personal computer experience. So again, my summary is to take back control of your computer by examining what you can turn on, what you can turn off, learning where these options are, find out, Google search some of these things. Why is this icon there? What is it? How do I disable it? Things like that. So that's some of the information about Windows 10 and what we were afraid to know. There is some additional information about Windows 10 that I've found on the internet. There's more. And these links should be available in the PowerPoint when it's posted online. everything you need to disable in Windows 10, good reading. The bottom one, Windows 10 privacy issues. And in the middle, if you still do not have Windows 10 and you're eligible for an upgrade, now the eligibility disappeared in late July, you can still get a free upgrade by clicking on that link until Microsoft takes that link away. But that is still something that's available. I upgraded a recent computer even after the deadline, and that's something I found available. So those are things to be aware of, that you can still get the free upgrade unless they've dealt with that. So I'm available to answer your questions about Windows 10. iDrive Backup, my favorite backup solution for the cloud. CCleaner. CCleaner is a good junk file cleaner, but it has many more options, including the ability to manage and uninstall software right from its own tools utility. I can talk about cybersecurity, antivirus, and spyware protection. And the two are not the same. I am available to speak to your computer club on the topics listed below. Some of you have seen me, some of you have heard me on some of those things. So I'm happy if you're in the Southern California area, I'll come to you within reason. If you're out of the Southern California area, let's talk about Skype or Zoom, and we can log in and do a virtual presentation on these topics, continue to get updated. So I will be attending the International Conference in Las Vegas in a couple of months, and I do look forward to seeing everyone there. If you can make it, you can still sign up at apcug2.org. And you can contact me at either of the two email addresses on the bottom of the screen, maestrocomputing@gmail.com or my personal maestro@pcmaestro.com. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope you can take back control of Windows, get those notifications showing so you cannot hide what Microsoft is hiding from you. So I guess I'm open for questions if they're available, if we have time.
Yep, we got about 5 minutes.
Okay, great.
I'd ask you to make sure you type your questions into the chat window, and so we can answer it. And so what I would do is this PowerPoint presentation should be up shortly after the presentation on the website, and maybe if you go through it in a little bit slower, where you may be able to find some of the some of the other actions you're having. And if the maestro doesn't get to your questions today, he will address them in an email to you.
Right.
Some of the questions, it said there was one question that I'll ask: is Microsoft developing a tool to fix the problems associated with the anniversary update installation?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't.
It said, is Microsoft developing a tool or doing anything to fix the problems associated with the anniversary update?
At this point, I have I'm sure they are, but I really don't know on whether they're working on that. I mean, there's always updates and things that are out there, so I don't have a good answer on that.
Okay. Also, Bill wanted to know about getting the network icon on the start menu. Is that something that's easily done, or should that be done offline?
I believe you can do that. I don't know if we can, see if I can get back there. I think you can choose what's down here. There are options to choose what features that can be done, and what there it is right there on mine. And so there are the ability to show those, and I'd have to look exactly how I'd enabled that, because I know there's probably personalizations, things like that. I don't remember exactly.
Okay, well, we can get that sent to you in a question, and you can fully develop it. And also, someone wants to know about Wi-Fi privacy, and I'm not sure you could do that in 5 minutes.
No.
Okay.
It's generally just watch who you're connecting to, and and then I would probably on Wi-Fi, because when you do connect Wi-Fi, there's kind of a memory in your computer of the different Wi-Fi connections you've used. I go to a hotel, I come to the Las Vegas convention, whatever. and we have Wi-Fi in the hotel. Well, when I'm done with that hotel, I'm done with that. I usually disable or delete that connection. I don't need, because I go to the library, I go to different conferences, and you're going to have all of those being remembered as possible Wi-Fi connections. Clean them up. You know, I'm never going to go back to that hotel or that library again. I mean, that's not true in some cases, but clean up your old stuff. I went to a friend's house. They changed their internet connection, so their Wi-Fi is no longer available with the same name. Clean them up. It's old stuff that you really don't need to keep. And you keep your own, keep your business, or you know, keep the hotels you go to or the libraries you go to regularly, but clean up the rest of them.
Okay, another guy want to know the sources for Windows Free 10 after the deadline.
The source for, I'm not sure if I'm going to answer, is this link here for the free upgrade is from Microsoft. I hope this is answering the question. And that's a download or an upgrade, if you will, to Windows 10. And they're basically dealing with that on a handicap, or the people that are using a computer in a handicapped environment with accessibility, and that's the terminology. And that's where that's available to them. Now, that's something that I discovered a while back, and that's up to Microsoft as to when they disable that feature. I hope that answers the question.
Okay. And if anybody deferred, they had a Windows 10 and they elected to defer the installation, does that work? If they download it, can they install it, or is it too late?
Not sure how to answer. I mean, can they defer it? I believe they can defer it.
No, they already deferred it. Remember when I believe what he's trying to say is that, remember when it comes down and do you want to install or defer it till later? And I think they deferred it till later.
Yeah, I believe you can defer it till later. I've only done it a couple times, and I'm looking on some of my other computers where I'm trying to force them to go to the anniversary edition. It hasn't even come through yet on some of my computers, and once I get a little more exposure to it, again, I upgraded my own. I upgraded a few, but even some of my offices that I support, I've tried to force them to go to the new version because I want to get them ready and get them up to date. And Microsoft's rollout of that is, again, like we did with Windows 10, they roll it out as they allow it to happen. I don't know policy on that. I'll have to look that up and maybe answer that question as to when I might see if I can defer it, or whether I can force it to happen when I want it to happen. I have the whole weekend available. Let's get that update going now, as opposed to while I'm working during the week. So.
Okay, there's a couple others, and I'm sorry we're not going to be able to get around to all of it. But is there one better alternative to the task manager to show memory and CPU usage?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry?
Yeah, I think they want to know if there's a program out there that's a better alternative to task manager to show memory and CPU usage.
I don't know of one. I mean, CCleaner is what I use. There's other ones that are available, but it's kind of a hit and miss on how you can manage these different things.
Yeah, there are a couple.
I know Glary Utilities is one that's out there, but it has different features and different options. But it's kind of, I mean, I'll make a point in the Windows Defender down here, my Shield, I can't control it. The only way I can knock it off is to go to my task manager and close that app right then and there. But that has to be done every time. Of course, I don't start Windows Defender. So I think that question, email me more on that question. We can get into a discussion offline on that.
Yeah, and DK1, if you'd email me at dwilliams@apcug.org. I have one that I use that I like, but I don't find it right off the top of my head here.
Okay.
I'm on a couple computers, and I'll see what I can do. The one thing is, we're going to take